Welcome to the KISSBCP webinar series, where we discuss all things that relate to no building scenarios, to no people scenarios, no third-party supplier scenarios, and lastly, no systems, all combined to create Chaos the Dragon, which is battled by King Phoenix and his shield.
Thank you for joining us today for today's webinar on how to solve the 5 major pain points in your compliance and business continuity planning processes. My name is Ann Sweeney, and I am the Marketing Manager for ComplyALIGN. Just a little background about me. I have about 19 years experience in sales and marketing, and I'm excited to be spearheading ComplyALIGN's marketing efforts and sharing this presentation with you today. I've truly been lucky enough to be able to support many different industries through my work tenure. But I do have to say that the most rewarding time I've spent is really managing the strategies for this application, ComplyALIGN. And then just a little bit about ComplyALIGN. I just want to give you some background there. We're essentially a policy management software company that's used by 200 organizations nationwide. And we provide a centralized location for those policies and procedures that includes a powerful search function and some audit-ready reporting. The solution will give you governance over your policy workflow so you can, always have complete version control. And we believe it's one of the simplest policy managers, or at least that's what our clients say on the market. So it also has some add-on features that differentiates us from other competitors, like contract management tools, some social features like blogging and forums as well. And then, of course, the platform will easily integrate with your Active Directory and an existing intranet if you have one. So it makes it really simple to sort of bring it in and get access very easily. And then if needed, we also can give you on-site or over-the-web training programs. And we will support quick implementation schedules, so we can happily move as quick as you can. Now I'd like to introduce our other presenter, Tam Williams. Tam is a skilled and experienced project manager and business continuity consultant working with KingsBridge BCP. She's honed her expertise in project management over the past decade and across industries such as healthcare, research, information technology, business analysis, and is a consultant working in business continuity and disaster recovery. She's facilitated many business continuity workshops at the DRJ conferences, if you're familiar with that, and also the Disaster Recovery Information Exchange quarterly meeting. So we're thrilled to have her and her expertise joining us today, as well as just their company, KingsBridge BCP. And just a little background on them, they are a simple and straightforward business continuity solution provider, and they have over 30 years experience focused on BCP consulting and BCP software to ensure that your recovery plan is effective in the event of an incident. So the format of today's webinar is going to be a blend of speaking points from both of our companies as we address those 5 major points individually and how the applications can assist you in overcoming the challenges. So both Tam and I we're going to provide sort of our company's perspective on the pain points, and then we'll go ahead and briefly comment on each point and how the solution can actually sort of help with those. And then just some light housekeeping before we get started. We are going to do our darndest to keep this presentation under 45 minutes so you can all get to lunch quicker. We do love to hear from you, so if you have questions during the presentation, please put them into the question panel or the GoToWebinar control panel. We'll save those for the end, and we'll address them at that time. And then note, there is the recorded version of the webinar, and it will be available along with a slide deck tomorrow. So keep an eye out for your inboxes for that. And I see a couple more people that just joined us. So if you are just joining us, welcome to the webinar with KingsBridge. And now we're going to get started. So the points that we'll share with you today are based on feedback that both of our companies have received from our clients and prospects through the years. Once we got into dialoguing together, we realized how similar the pains were for both policy management, compliance, and business continuity planning. Essentially, then this webinar was born. So with that, I wanted to just point out the top 5 major points that we feel like we see a lot, or that we hear a lot when dealing with the compliance and business continuity planning. So first and foremost is people sharing the sentiment that they don't have a centralized location for their policies and procedures or business continuity planning documents. And then, of course, next, we have the dreaded manual management of the policies or BCP documents. And then obviously version control is a huge pain point for our clients and prospects. And then audit ready and compliance fears, reporting or really lack thereof, and then of course having potentially no budget and no resources. So those are the pain points that we're working with today, and we're going to go through each of those and tell you, how our solution can accommodate you in those areas. So I'm going to take over first here and talk about pain point number one. So not having that centralized location for your policies and procedures. So a common complaint that we hear is, we've used outdated policies because our current versions are difficult to find, or it is difficult to know where to even look for those policies. Well, whether you have a shared drive or you're managing these manually in a paper binder, which does still happen, and we hear a lot, this is going to be a major challenge to having an effective compliance program in place if you don't have that kind of sophisticated place for people to get that content. And, when this happens from a business perspective, it really, it causes, business practice risks, maybe potential lawsuits, unhappy customers, and some real major compliance issues. So we do know that is a problem, and we're here to help resolve it. So how does our system do that? Well, it's a centralized platform that stores all of those policies and procedures. It really just acts as a repository for those types of documents, such as contracts, educational resources, bylaws, and even BCPs if you have them. And we have a document hierarchy that's fully customizable. So the system really is going to support a hierarchical folder structure so you can keep all of your content completely organized. And then, of course, all documents are fully searchable by title, by content, the information in the body, and so on. And then all documents can actually be easily tagged with additional search keywords. So again, if you have some nomenclature that is very specific to your organization, we can absolutely tag those documents. So you're making it even easier for your staff to find policies that, maybe a name or something that they're used to using. And you can do that as well. So that really helps. And so again, you can do that by regulation or by standard number or other tags that are useful to the industry. And then only the most current and approved versions of your documents are accessible to staff. So again, there's that version control. Again, you don't have to worry that there's, all these different documents that are out there that have been updated, the same document, and you're just not sure which one is the most recently published or recently updated one. And then if your approvers or your reviewers and anybody that owns the documents, essentially, they can access at any time a full revision history. So you're able to pull open at any time a backlog sort of any updated or published documents that you have. And then the system does support periodic snapshots of all current policies. So these can easily be restored during any type of major outage. So that's essentially how we can help with that first pain point here.
On the BCP side of things, similarly, no centralized location for the BCP content is a problem. Business continuity plans draw on information from all parts of an organization, and when disaster strikes, all those parts need to be able to work together to recover. This means continuity plans can get very large. Even with a very detailed table of contents, navigating through a hard copy document that can be hundreds of pages long to find that critical piece of information you're looking for can be very frustrating. And not to mention the inefficiency that can result. Time is money when you're getting a business back up and running. So inefficiency means increased recovery costs. If every step is delayed due to difficulties in finding information, the recovery of the entire business can be delayed. So since navigating through and keeping a giant paper document can be very challenging, many, and I would say most organizations have chosen to go an electronic route, leveraging basic tools like Excel and Word to maintain their plans in an electronic format. However, storage can still become a challenge. So the easiest solution, of course, is store everything on the company servers, easy to access and update. But what happens when the company servers go down, or even the company's access to those servers go down if they're remote? Having your business continuity plan wiped out along with your company makes for a pretty challenging recovery. Lastly, the information that goes into your business continuity plan is constantly needing updating. A change in cell phone number for one key player can require many changes across many documents that make up your plan. And as organizations grow, the frequency of change in personnel, new business processes, new applications, new clients, new vendors can really rapidly increase to the point where it feels like you're constantly spinning your wheels just trying to keep the basics current, never mind actually executing a tabletop exercise or filling gaps in your plan. So Shield is KingsBridge BCP's flagship software. It's an online solution hosted on servers far from your own, and Shield addresses these challenges I just mentioned in a few ways. So first, we make navigating through that large volume of content a breeze through hyperlinking. When a user logs into their plan, they'll see hyperlinks throughout that will direct them to the more detailed information they need. If they need a reference to their list of vendors at a critical point in their plan, no need to flip to an appendix. A simple hyperlink will provide users with immediate access to the information they need, whether it be a document, a website, or another section of your plan. Hyperlinks can be created to content within and outside of Shield, giving you total flexibility in making that mountain of information that is your business continuity plan as easy to navigate as possible. I mentioned Shield is a hosted solution, ensuring that your plan is at the ready even when your servers are not. Access to Shield can be customized for each user. And so by granting users access to just the content they need, that hundreds of pages of planned content assembled for the whole company can be whittled down to just the content that is relevant for that particular user for the teams that they're a part of. This also helps with the security of the information in your plan as well. You may not want everything in your BCP shared with everyone who plays a part in the recovery. Sensitive information can be put behind restricted points of access for certain eyes only. Of course, if a hosted solution makes you a little uncomfortable for fear there might be an internet outage during a disaster, Shield also has a mobile app that syncs with your plan. No internet, no problem. Your plan, as we like to say, will be in the palm of your hand, including all those reference documents and all those hyperlinks you built in to continue to make navigating a breeze. They'll all be on your mobile device. Lastly, Shield uses a database approach to managing content that may appear in multiple places in your plan. So by leveraging this database functionality, when something like a simple mobile phone number or a key vendor changes, you change it in one place and Shield makes sure it's updated throughout your plan.
Okay, so the next pain point we're going to go address is manual management of policies and procedures and version control. So we constantly hear from prospects something like this: our PMPs are mismanaged, they're not reviewed on time, nor do they have proper approvals happening. No one knows who's approved what or who, when approval needs to happen. Nothing is correctly documented, and policies are still in binders and everything is manual. And then they toss in like help. So we do hear this often, and this complaint, it results in a poor system for tracking your approval workflow and revision history, making it really close to impossible to produce evidence of correct policy maintenance or compliance in the case, of a lawsuit, an audit, a legal review, or an accreditation survey for healthcare clients. So how can we help? Well, we can address this in a number of ways. So the system will proactively notify owners and reviewers about upcoming review requirements. Approvals are also handled electronically and automatically stored for every single document. So at any point in time, you can see past history of approvals and who worked on specific documents. The system actually supports a couple different ways for approvals, sequential approvals. We have parallel approvals that can happen at the same time. And we even can do committee approvals if that's how you're set up. And they can all be defined to ensure that there's a proper approval process in place pending how you function. And then, of course, approver name, date, time, they're all easily accessible for every document. So there's a properties tab that really gives you all of this information. So at any point that you're in the document, if you have the rights, you can view that information. And then when a policy is revised, that previous version and also any draft copies are automatically preserved and accessible to authorized staff. So as I mentioned, you can pull up previous versions if you want to look at what was changed or what was edited that's different than the published version that you're working on. And then, of course, very important detailed audit logs or, sort of a robust audit trail. They're created anytime that there's a change to a document that is made or there's a review or approval takes place. And then your policy owners can easily run reports showing exact versions of the policies that were in effect on a specific date, making it extremely easy to complete legal reviews. So we've even heard from clients that, the people running their audits have said, these are pretty thorough, what are you using? And so we feel good about that.
So in the business continuity space, working in that space, we like to think you're constantly working on your business continuity plan, but the reality is that you often have more important things to do. So scheduled plan updates are a more likely strategy when it comes to keeping content current. However, we all know how easy it is to lose track of time. So when you do go to do those updates to your plan, how do you know when a document was last updated, when a section was last edited, who made those edits, and did anyone ever sign off on those changes? Plus, there's content in your plan that might just be getting really old. As we've spoken to already, there's a lot of content that goes into a business continuity plan. It's really hard to keep track of what's up to date and what is getting pretty stale. So at KingsBridge, we feel your pain. We use Shield ourselves to help our clients with their plan building and maintenance. And that's why all content in our Shield solution shows the last modified date and who modified it last. With each section you navigate to, you'll see right there who was messing around in there last. And if you want to dive deep to see all the dates that content was last modified for all the bits and pieces of your plan, there's a table for that too. Shield also has a built-in task management system, allowing you to assign specific review and sign-off tasks to specific users. You can mark those tasks as urgent and send email notifications letting the assignee know that a task has been created and assigned to them. The task history allows you to see what has and has not been actioned. And of course, tasks can be linked directly to content in Shield. So when you ask someone to review something, there's no doubt in the reviewer's mind as to what they are being asked to look at. If you assign a task to someone and you've got the wrong guy, he's not in that role anymore, no problem. They can simply decline the task and provide a comment as to who the rightful owner of that task should be.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tam. The next point that we're going to address is not being audit ready or having compliance fears that are associated with policy management. So this is what we hear often. If we were to get audited today, we would likely fail the audit because our internal P&P review and attestation processes are not in place, approvals are not correctly documented, and policies are difficult to locate. So, hopefully some of you on the call have had this problem before, you've felt this pain, but we hear this a lot. And I would say that probably with many of our clients, this is the reason that maybe sometimes they go searching for a policy management, that they either failed some type of an audit or they have an upcoming audit coming up and, they just really want to get everything in place. So this problem, we hear often. So because of it, that can result in not being able to apply for maybe certain programs or discounts or even bid on projects because the policies and procedures are in such a chaotic state that you will likely fail. So how can we help? Well, we address this in a couple different ways. first and foremost, the documents are always audit ready if you're using our system. So at any point in time, if you are dealing with some type of an audit or somebody needs to see your detailed paperwork or data, it's always ready in the system. So reports of all of the PMPs that you have can easily be created by PMP administrators. So if you're ever wondering how many PMPs you have, it's easy to report on that kind of data and get that content out of the system. And then your staff has access to all relevant documents in just one location, right at their fingertips and in a few clicks of the mouse. So it's not like going to search and going to talk to different people or finding a binder or going to a shared drive and trying to put it all together. It's in one spot, in one location. That makes it super easy and efficient to run those reports. And then the staff can search by relevant codes or standard numbers to easily locate the policies or procedures that are relevant for that regulation or audit review. So that makes it really nice and concise. And then only current and most recently approved documents are accessible by staff. So any approval information can always be viewed for every single document. And then detailed revision reports, as we mentioned before, revision history, they can easily be generated by document owners showing approvals and review data. And your reports can be generated to demonstrate ongoing improvements that you're making and any initiatives and results for your PMPs, which often can be something that is needed for an audit. And then, of course, ComplyALIGN is just really an ongoing automated process that sort of continues on and on. So all of those things really can help with any type of audit or those compliance fears.
Similarly, in the BCP space, audit time is not a happy time. There can be many audible groans when the auditors come to town. There are decisions to be made. What do we show them? What do we not show them? How many staff do we need to actually pull all this content together so we can demonstrate that our business continuity plan is complete and up to date? How many trees are we going to take out in the process by pulling together these hundreds of pages of content, and how do we get them to understand exactly how the plan works when we just hand them this big stack of information for them to flip through? So with Shield, we have solved this by implementing an auditor level of access. So I know we have some participants that registered for the call today from the financial sector, and it was actually by request from these clients that we implemented the auditor view to address these specific challenges of the auditor visit. So this level of access allows auditors to see key areas of your plan without being able to edit anything, nor view your dirty laundry like action items that have not been completed. When the auditors log directly into your plan, they get to see the workflow as you do when actually working with the plan. You don't need to print anything. They can access all the content and those links to supporting documents inside and outside of the plan. If they want an overview of how current your information is, Shield also has a dashboard that will give auditors and senior management an overview of just how well your plan is doing, which I'll speak to you in more detail about a little bit later.
Okay, so pain point number 4, no reporting tools. We hear this a lot. We don't know how many policies and procedures we deal with. We have no idea who manages them or how they even get reviewed, or if the policy staff left the organization, we wouldn't even know where to start. So if this is some type of a complaint or a fear of yours, you will know that this issue results in an extremely heavy manual workload for any new hire or additional staff that you have that is set to replace the previous administrator or owner that was working on those. So how does our system help that from a reporting perspective? And I mentioned some of those, in a couple of the slides earlier, but basically the system for reporting, it reinforces that set it and forget it mindset. So once your document review workflow is identified, the appropriate staff automatically get notified when their tasks are due. So they don't have to remember when something is up and coming. They are just going to always get notified when they have to take action. And the system reinforces accountability and transparency, obviously very big for any organization, no matter what type of industry you're in. But the system's super users can easily run reports to see policies that are pending action and any overdue documents, along with who those assigned staff may be. So if they go in, run a report, and find out that, Joe Smith, he didn't approve something, they can either go bug him, email him, even though the system will still be reminding him in several different notifications and different ways. You can then run a report to find out, what's the holdup here, what's going on. So, and then at any point in time, system super users can run responsibility assignment reports to see what tasks every different staff has. And then, of course, if that staff member leaves, or somebody's going from one role to another, and they're no longer in that workflow, or they're no longer in that position, the documents can be super easily reassigned across the board to some new person, and task notification will then automatically follow that new document assignment. So again, you just make that quick change in the system, and that new person is going to be alerted of anything that other person was responsible for. And then those new staff are going to get notified again via emails, or we have on-screen reminders about those tasks. And then just a couple more here. The volume of documents, the number of current drafts, the published documents or archives are automatically maintained in the system. So those are always accessible to authorized users. You can pull that data at any point in time. And I mentioned, not so much the volume of documents, but, the reports that allow you to see, what's happening. So having a dashboard or a chart to help visualize the status of the documents across the system. So let's just say you may have, if you have a lot of policies that happen to be coming up around the same expiration date or that need to be reviewed at the same time, you can now see sort of that high level overview. So you can say, hey, maybe we can work ahead instead of having these 25 come up at the same time. Let's work ahead so we can, take care of that and look into it right away. So we're not bombarding the people within the workflow with having to do 25 documents, in the same time period. So those types of dashboards and charts really help with sort of mitigating that. And then read acknowledgement and attestation can be configured to ensure that the staff is going to be notified about any new document versions and changing policies. So, not holding people accountable, saying, hey, here's an update that's going to automatically get sent out upon any published document that's going to alert your staff to come back to the system and read whatever that policy update is. And they're going to have to sign off on it. So all of that is going to be tracked and monitored, and you're going to be certain that they actually have read something, or at least they're attesting that they did. And then finally, an additional element, which we've heard for a long time and we've just recently implemented, but is our policy quizzes. And these are great. And really they're comprehension tools, but they can be configured to ensure that your staff understands the actual content of the policies and procedures or any other compliance issues. So, you may want to formulate and customize some questions that go along with that notification that goes out when the policy is published. So you can ensure that they actually understand what is being said in those policies. And again, depending on what type of industry you're in, it's really important to, keep yourself ahead of the competition, making sure that there's standardization in activities and the way that people deal with, work for your company. And that's just really one way to ensure that they understand.
So similarly in the business continuity space, it's really hard to maintain your plan with no reporting tools. It's difficult to get an overall sense of how current your plan is, and then how do you pinpoint those areas where things are getting a little stale and might need some updating? Even if the content is current, in order for your recovery to be successful, users really need to be familiar with the content, but how do you know if they're actually logging into the plan, and are they really completing those tasks that you've assigned them? So as I mentioned earlier, in Shield, we have a dashboard to help meet your reporting needs. And from that dashboard, users can jump into the Shield Analytics section where there's pie charts and graphs to help you identify where your content is getting stale, how recently users have logged in to keep themselves up to date with the latest changes, and just how much time they're actually spending in the tool. From here, there are further drill downs, allowing you to pinpoint specific sections and documents of your plan that need to be updated, and will even identify specific users that haven't logged in for a very long time. The task management module I spoke to earlier allows administrators to see all the tasks assigned and completed by all users in Shield. And most importantly, it allows them to identify what tasks are still outstanding and who is responsible for their completion. Of course, right from the dashboard is a great starting point to get a view of what we call your overall plan health, which includes factors such as how current your content is. So you can see it at a glance every time as an administrator you log in, where your plan might need a little bit of work.
Right. So number 5, the last and final one here on our list, and this one is, of course, a big one, having no budget for the project or maybe limited resources to implement the project. So, no budget, no resources. Well, this one's obviously extremely common and we hear it all the time. Something like this. We don't have enough resources to improve our PMP situation. The systems that we've been looking at are way over our budget and they require extensive upgrades to our servers. Also, the effort it would take to catalog those existing policies would be extremely time consuming, and it would take several staff members to work on this, which we just don't have. So, this point is why many organizations continue with their manual policy management efforts, just because they don't want to take on this type of workload. They don't have the people to do so. They believe the project will be too daunting and will take several staff members to implement. But, truly with the right vendor, this project can be inexpensive and it can have little impact on your internal resources. And we'll just share a couple points of how we can do that and help with that. So ComplyALIGN offers subscription options. So there's really little or no upfront cost and only a minimal monthly cost. So the system is very affordable and budget friendly. It really makes it easier depending on whatever size you are. We've got different packages as well. But you're not pushing out a bunch of dollars up front. And usually with any type of a cloud-based tool or something like this as well, there's you can cancel it at any time. So there's really no loss there if it ends up not working for you, although we haven't had anybody cancel yet. So the system can be delivered on premise, so on your behind your firewall or on your servers, or via the cloud. And of course, so then if you are going the cloud route, you're really not going to have that IT infrastructure or updates to the servers that are needed or required for use. And then we have an 8-step implementation approach that we've been using for years, and it's really lessons learned from 19 years of implementing PMP automation, but the steps are kind of outlined like this, and this is where we believe that this is very useful, where we're guiding you and we're taking you through each of these different steps, so you don't have to do this stuff on your own. We're really helping you with it. So that number 1 is where we would organize your policies and procedures with you. We would help you in number 2 with the document cleanup. So, just making sure that, there's one version, making the edits where it needs to be. Number 3 is developing that structure and organization. So determining how you want those folders or collections of folders and documents set up. And then number 4, we would determine the responsibilities. So again, the permissions, who's working on what document. Number 5 is we're going to help you establish all those review dates. And then number 6, we're going to help you prepare for upload. And don't think that it's just going to be one document at a time. That would be very cumbersome. We actually offer you a multiple file utility tool where we're able to it's like an FTP service if you're familiar with that, but we would then connect to wherever shared drive that you have these documents, and we would just pull them into our system in the same structure that we've helped you organize on that shared drive. So it's real super easy to do that, and it takes very little time to do so. So it's not like you're doing one at a time. That would be ridiculous. So we help you there for sure. And then number 7 is uploading documents and doing the user training. And as I mentioned before, we can do it on site, which we do recommend and prefer, because once we're there and our trainers one-on-one with you, you're going to get a lot more benefits from that type of training program versus an over the web. But we do over the web as well. If you're a smaller organization, that may just be more fitting, but at least we do offer both of those for you. And then the number 8 is go live. So, and we can do these, as I mentioned, the quick implementation schedule. So all of these steps, we can do so in a short, condensed, sort of quick fast track schedule if needed, or we can work as long as it takes for you. Honestly, we're pretty flexible there. And then a couple more here is that we can implement this using a phased approach to minimize your workload on your staff. So, you know, you may want to get the system up and running, get all of the policies in it, and start using the system to edit and publish those documents. We can do that. Or you may want to get all the items and everything done and not even, you know, launch or take the system live until that's all finished. So there's a couple different approaches that we can help you with. Actually, on our website, you can find a couple of snapshots of pros and cons of both, which may be helpful to you if you need some more information there. And then the system itself can be used for cataloging and reviewing your PMP, is kind of what I just said, but this in turn really creates evidence of performance improvement initiatives as well. So again, you're enhancing this process, so really proving that you're making some improvements at the organization. And then really we are there from start to finish, so we assist you in a project management fashion from the beginning of the project till the end, and then afterwards you'll get a dedicated project manager that's going to sort of be there for you, or an account representative for any help that you need. And then of course, obviously, monthly support where you can call in and take care of information that way as well.
So for those of you on the call today working in the BCP space, you'll be all too familiar with this common pain point of no budget and no resources. When business gets busy or budgets get tight, unfortunately, BCP is almost always pushed down the list of priorities, getting kind of the table scraps of funding and or human resources to keep the plan together. As a result, the person responsible for BCP is often fulfilling these responsibilities kind of off the corner of their desk, as their other day-to-day work takes up the majority of their time. So evenings and weekends can become the only time to get BCP work done, because that's the only time left available in a busy week. The efficiencies that business continuity planning software provides can make the job easier. But doesn't that just come back to problem number 1 of no budget? So what is the busy business continuity planner to do? Many companies feel that BCP software is just way outside of their budget. But what they don't realize is that there are more cost-effective solutions on the market, and Shield is one of those solutions. Our prices are posted right on our website, so there is full transparency as to what you're getting. We also use a subscription model. So similar to ComplyALIGN, your costs are a low monthly fee with no upfront costs and no annual commitment required. You can cancel anytime. So often we see organizations with BCP software solutions, and these things have all the bells and whistles you can imagine, of which they're using only a fraction while they're paying for all of these features. We know that required functionality is going to depend on the needs of the organization. So we have multiple versions of Shield at different price points, so you can find the solution that meets your needs. Now, if you have budget for software, but it's that human resource part that you're really lacking in order to migrate your existing plan over to Shield, we also offer migration services as well. So we can get your plan set up in Shield so that it is super efficient to maintain. Now, our BCP consultants actually perform these migrations, and they use Shield every day to build plans for our clients. So you can be confident that when they migrate your plan over, they're going to do it in a way that makes your plan super easy to maintain. In addition, their real-world experience in the BCP space drives the ongoing features we add to Shield on a quarterly basis. For example, one of those features we've added is notification. Many of our clients were in need of just a simple way of getting an email and text message out to their staff, but they didn't have the budget to invest in the heavy price tag of a fancy third-party notification provider. So we built a low-cost, simple solution right into our Shield software. At KingsBridge, we believe in keeping things simple and straightforward, and that goes with the design of our software. But if you do want some initial training on getting to know our Shield tool, we offer that for free along with unlimited technical support as well.
Great, thank you so much, Tam. So we've gone through the presentation and we're now in the question and answer time. And I do see several that had come in while we were speaking, which is great. So we will address those and then we will wrap up the webinar. So anyway, first couple questions, it looks like I'll just take the first one because it is for ComplyALIGN here. Someone asked, is it possible to configure viewing restrictions on certain type of documents? Oh, great question. Yeah, absolutely. So we can set up viewing rights individually for each document or a document folder sort of collection set. So there's really a ton of flexibility there. So as we can get as granular as all the way down to just one specific document in a folder that is maybe viewed by someone else. So we can get very specific. So if you have other maybe stakeholders or people logging into your system that only need to see one document, we can absolutely set that up and the system supports that very easily. Okay, so Tam, I've got one for you, my dear. This one is, okay, if the internet goes out, how do I access Shield?
Okay, a common concern as Shield is a hosted solution and often internet access is not an option, especially when disaster initially strikes. That's when our mobile app comes in. So Shield syncs with your mobile app. So we have an app for both Android and iOS, and that sync puts a local copy of your plan on your phone. So even if your phone doesn't have cell service, your plan is sitting on that device. So you can access everything you need right there on your phone. Now, we also have some organizations that are uncomfortable with allowing just anyone to put the BCP plan on their phone, especially if it's a personal device. So you can actually restrict in Shield as to who can sync the plan with their mobile phone and who can't. So we give you that option as well.
Great. Okay, so actually I've got another one. Oh, well, I'll just do mine first since I'm speaking already. Can the system support assignments of responsibilities? For example, our HR policies and HIPAA policies need to be reviewed by different people. Oh, okay, of course. So system administrators can actually configure document responsibilities to different staff based on your needs and requirements. So it really allows you to reassign such responsibilities globally or on like a per document level. So if you're suffering from staff transitions or turnover, if that happens a lot in your organization, you can quickly and easily reassign those responsibilities to a new staff member, ensuring that the workflow is not disrupted or it's not incomplete and it's missing an important approval. So I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, something similar, but essentially it's just a reassign function that you can go in there and you can do this very thing. So you can either add someone new to it very easily, again, on just that document, or you can add it on a folder of documents, and you can reassign very easily. So you can either duplicate, copy someone's responsibilities, or you can just, maybe there's someone else that's starting within the same role and they need the same responsibilities as someone else, and you can do that too. So really, really simple to do that. Tam, I got one more for you here. Does the auditor view allow them to read the entire plan, or can I limit what they have access to?
Yeah, so by default, when you grant someone access as an auditor, they will get access to the core part of the plan, which is what we call the team responses. So all kind of the recovery steps that each of your teams would take, as well as the document inventory, any documents that you've linked to that are stored in Shield. However, that is entirely customizable. So if you don't want your auditor being able to pull down those documents and look at them, you can restrict that access. Or if you want to grant your auditor access to other sections of Shield that aren't included in the default permissions, you can customize that as well. So Shield has a number of components and modules that make up your entire plan, and you can adjust the auditor's permissions so that they can only see the components and modules that you have granted them access to. And in all cases, their access is strictly read-only. So while they can download and view a document, they can't make any edits, they can't remove a document, they can't add anything to your plan. So you can rest assured that they're not going to break anything while they're in there poking around.
Okay, great. And then it looks like there's just one more for us, and I think we have a minute here, so I'm going to go for it. So is there a limit on a number of documents that can be housed in the system? This one, it says that we're a large health system and currently have over 5,000 policies in circulation. No, so there's no limit, and the system can easily support your organization's needs. So it's very scalable. So you can have 100 policies in there, or you can have 10,000 plus policies in there. So with that many documents, though, it is important to architect hierarchical views of the documents correctly, so you can ensure that your users can easily locate the documents, because that is, that's quite a bit. But with our services, we can certainly help you with that, and any other implementation tasks that would go along with having that many policies in the system. So, okay, so I'm just going to move to the last slide here, and I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We really appreciate you being here. A special thanks to you, Tam, for taking the time to share your knowledge with us and for joining us in this webinar today. I think it was really insightful and helpful. It makes me want BCP, the KingsBridge BCP at our place. So it was just really great. But please expect a copy of the webinar to be sent to your email addresses for tomorrow. It'll be there tomorrow. And additionally, of course, if you have any questions for Tam, please feel free to email her at the email address here, tamw@kingsbridgebcp.com. And if you have any other questions about ComplyALIGN or the products, and of course, obviously to send up demos for either companies, but you can send us an email here, sales@complyalign.com. So thank you again for joining us, and we really hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.